Hello, hello. Y'all know what time it is. It's 12 o'clock on the drop. It's tea o'clock. Hey, good people, how are you? Welcome. Oh, it's so good to be back. I missed y'all. Come on into the tea room. Waiting to get started in just a second. Let everyone get cozy. Let me know what you're drinking. I am drinking my conscious chamomile blend today. It's feeling very chamomile-y. Hello, who's here? Let me know who's here, what you're drinking. I'm not seeing your comments yet. Come on, StreamYard. Don't play me today. So we're going to get started in just a second. As you know how we do, I'm bringing you conscious reality, expanding and elevating our conversation so that we can expand and elevate our lives. And I have a special treat in store for you today. I'm super excited. Let me see who's here. Hi, Mommy. My mother's here. Hibiscus. You're drinking hibiscus tea. That's right, you know, Mom. And Kevin, yes, what are you drinking? William is here. Hey, William. So we've been away for a minute, so I'm just going to let everyone come into the tea room. Let me turn off my phone. As you all know, there's been a lot of upheaval and change in our lives right now. So as we navigate these COVID times on a personal level and collectively, I'm looking forward to this wonderful time together. I have a special treat in store for you. So I'm excited. It's going to be yummy. Let me set the stage for you. We have 43 days until the end of 2020. Hi, Webster. I see you out there. And I'm wondering, what have we learned this year? So go ahead and drop in the comments what I've learned this year is, and let me know, okay? I made a couple notes on my phone of some things that I learned this year, if I could get in my phone. You know, Apple likes to update. So I learned the power of adaptability, that my plans had plans. So if you hear me and you have an amen on that, drop it in the comments. What I thought I was going to be doing, things shifted, but the truth of it is who we are today would have never happened if the pandemic didn't happen. So there's a new us that's emerging and coming forth, and that's part of the conversation that I'm going to be having with my special guest. I learned the power of sitting down and savoring the moment. Who feels me on that? So the thing is, we don't breathe in the past and we don't breathe in the future, we breathe in the now. And I really got present to how delicious this present moment is, not rushing through things. And I think the third thing for me is the power of resiliency, of pushing forward no matter what. And you can't think of resiliency without thinking and imagining the Black woman. So I just want to shout out and honor Black women. I'm thinking of Stacey Abrams and the nameless and faceless women who are really changing the political landscape of our country and of our world and of our culture. That said, I have a special homage to our Black men. We love you. I see you. I see you on this feed. And I have two powerful men as my special guest. Honey, you have to mute yourself. My husband is on daddy duties because, you know, we're homeschooling. So he's upstairs with our daughter. I'm downstairs with you. Hold on. So we have a couple of technical issues, but we're going to get started here in just a second. So who's here with me? Hi, Audrey. I see you. I've learned patience and that America needs healing. Yes, for sure. Absolutely. I see you, Sud. And Carl, I see you too. We need a new and more mature U.S. has emerged. Walk in that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Webster? 43 days. That this is the year of flexibility and the power of love. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to introduce you to some very fine gentlemen. In the truest sense of the word, though. So I'm going to get rid of this so that I can give a proper intro to my special guest. Oh gosh, I can't get this off here. So give me 1 second, y'all. Webster, you just want to stay up here with me, huh? I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at all.
Hey, am I on? Sounds like I'm on.
Honey, you weren't supposed to be on yet, so I'm gonna go solo. I just lost connection, y'all. So this is about to be, you know what? This is perfect because this is how 2020 has been. So, honey, you gotta wait a second because you're not supposed to be on yet. Okay. Let me get to this. I see my cousin from Chicago. Hi, Miss. All right. Without further ado, I present to you Mr. LEROI, who hails from the Windy City, Chicago. He's an award-winning writer, director, producer, best known for his work at the critically acclaimed series, CW series, Everybody Hates Chris. On TBS, he had the series Are We There Yet, which I loved, and the breakout hit from Starz, Survivor's Remorse. Ali is a 5 Emmy-nominated award-winning director, 5-time NAACP Image Award nominee. He has scored several nominations for the Golden Globes, the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America, and others. He has major motion picture credits, including all the one that we love, Pootie Tang, the cult classic, and Head of State. What you may not know about Ali is that he's an avid photographer who I had the privilege and honor of attending one of his works, the self-portrait, for his birthday, I believe, Ali. And he's appeared in several galleries. He has print work. He's also on the board of directors for the Producers Guild of America, as well as holding the current chair as president of the Humanities Prize, a nonprofit organization that awards and promotes the craft of television and film writers. Ali is a man of immense talent and immense wisdom, and I am so honored to have you here today. So let's clear this off. Hi, Ali, how are you?
Hey, I'm a person of immense hair. That's really what
I love that. I love that. Yes, you are. Thank you so much for joining us today as we work through our technical glitches. And let me see if I can get this comment out. As much as I love my cousin in Chicago. Ali's from Chicago, Missy.
I am from Chicago.
Yes, and my mother and my father were born there. I'm trying to get this comment off. There we are. Okay, great. So, how are you today? How's life? How's the pandemic? What's flowing through you right now?
My wrist hurts because I have been. I just got back to working out after 6 months of staying in the house eating chicken wings and cake.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was eating chicken wings and cake because I don't really do drugs.
I'll take it.
So drugs apparently don't increase your weight, but chicken wings and cake don't kill you as fast. So
yes.
I'm off of all of that now, and just trying to get back in the groove. And work is kind of starting to gear up. It's kind of like a top-down thing. So because I'm writing, I'm able to be in the office and create and do some things. So I've been fortunate in that regard, but really just kind of trying to maintain. This has been an incredibly stressful year, and I've spent a lot of time really trying to slow down. And it was interesting that you were talking about the breathing, just like really trying to be present, stay in the moment, and not jump ahead to problems that haven't showed up yet, and not linger on the ones that have already occurred. So it's a challenge, but I'm hanging in there.
I love that. So I'm gonna switch to the solo shot for just a second. We're gonna come back to that because I want to dive a little deeper in that. And I want to also introduce our other special guest. Some of you may know him. I don't know. He is Craig Ross Jr., who hails from Boston, Massachusetts. He's an award-winning filmmaker, graduate of NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, and the founder of Asiatic Incorporated. Craig, as we know, has directed, produced, and written the gangster noir indie cult classic Blue Hill Avenue. The film was released theatrically by Lionsgate Entertainment. After that, Craig went on to direct a number of high-profile television shows, including NCIS, Prison Break, Numbers, and Cold Case. And my husband, that is Craig Ross Jr., was nominated for Best Episodic Director by the NAACP for the Bones episode. Recently, Craig, as many of us know, is the genius mind behind Craig Ross Jr.'s Monogamy, a drama series that we created. And it has been the #1 rated drama series on the UMC platform since it was first released in 2018, right, babe? And Also capitalizing on the lost noir of filmmaking, I want to share with you my husband, my soulmate, the amazing father of our two daughters, the man that we all know as Craig Ross Jr. Hi, honey. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
You're a little low. I'm having a little hard time hearing you.
Okay. Is that better?
I think so. Thank you. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you, honey, for being on husband daddy duty with our little girls so that we can have this time together. So I'll ask you the same question. What have you learned in 2020? What's going on? What's flowing through you right now?
What I learned in 2020 is don't take anything for granted.
Mm-hmm.
That things can change on a dime. And that's something that I always kind of knew in the back of my head, but 2020 has really brought that to life. It's really manifested for me. So, being in gratitude for what we have, for everything that we have, all the time, is something that has become very prevalent this year. So, I am moving through it, as I'm sure we all are, as best we can, as best I can. And it's teaching me a lot about patience as well.
I'm
That's
sorry,
what
honey. You're sounding a little muffled. Is there a way that you can get a little closer to the mic? I'm having a hard time hearing you. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this powerful film by Ali LEROI, The Obituary of Tunde Johnson, and we're going to dive into that. It's a timely, compelling piece. So I want to have a conversation about that. I missed that. And I also would be remiss if I didn't share this little nugget with you guys. So that's Ali on the left and my husband on the right. This to me exemplifies Black boy joy, which is something else that I want to talk into, the sheer innocence and the beauty and the imagination that both of these esteemed filmmakers, creative storytellers have. So I just wanted to drop that in the space for you.
I like the fact that you went on my Instagram and snatched that photograph before I pulled it down.
I sure did, yes. And that's something you all should know about Ali if you don't. Mr. Ali LEROI is his Instagram handle, is that his pictures and his commentary will only stay up there for what, 24 hours? Is that correct?
It depends on how I'm feeling, but I'm
Okay.
having I'm having an issue with the necessity of Instagram and how I'm trying to manage dealing with social media. You know, yeah. Well, I mean, it's like part of you wants to participate in this kind of, in this active social space.
Yes.
Part of me resents the idea that I care about the attention, and then the other part of me cares about the attention. So,
Yes, yes.
right.
I understand that. What are your thoughts on that, husband extraordinaire? Because that's what you certainly are. What are your thoughts on that?
On social media, I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on social media. And it is definitely a device to get your voice out there, to be able to say what it is you need to say, and have people hear you and listen and comment. I mean, that's awesome. What's up, Kevin? I love that. I mean, I love that about social media, but it's definitely not something I need, and I probably could use it to my benefit more. I just
Now,
have a real
what
hard time caring about it.
I know, I understand, and both of you, and maybe some of you in the audience, have a hard time caring about social media. And I like to bring to our attention that we are all able to gather here during this sacred time because of social media. So, that's kind
true.
of that's the dynamic paradox of the social media that isn't that social, but yet it is. So let's dive right in. I want to get into this idea of Black boy joy, toxic masculinity, and vulnerability. When I say those words to you, what comes up for you? And whoever wants to go first. Well, don't jump in first. Go ahead, Ali.
Well, I mean, it's it's complicated. When you talk about toxic masculinity, it's like it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, there are all of these deeply ingrained and practiced societal ideas that we have been raised with, And what is slowly coming to our attention is not just that these ideas have been damaging to women directly because of the behavior of men, but more importantly, that these ideas have been damaging to men, right? And so we haven't been able to find a way to to begin to work our way out of this, and I think in some kind of in some kind of way that's I'm going to say less pejorative, less judgmental. Um, that there is a problem, and when you're trying to bring a problem to someone's attention, what is difficult is how do you do that and still leave them space to be available to address it, as opposed to making them defensive about it.
And
And
wrong about it.
then yeah, and then amongst men, we haven't really been, I think, encouraged and engaged around the idea that our private spaces with each other, are places where we can actually be intimate and vulnerable. And it's not just so we can sit down and watch the game and and vibe off of that and complain a little bit about the women, but actually say things that are hurting us, things that are bothering us, things that we're afraid of, and more than anything else, being able to open up and ask for help when we need it. Those are not things that we've been encouraged to do. And as Black men in particular, it has been just, I think, damaging to us as a collective.
Very well said. I'm going to go to you, husband, and I'm reminded of a time I've said to you, I don't know if you recall this, that I get to cry. I get to release my emotions. I get to have the full sway of my humanity. And I often wonder if for men, we're generalizing obviously, if you guys feel so restricted and held back because society doesn't say it's okay for you to do that. So if you have any thoughts, Craig, on what Ali shared or what I just commented on, I'd love to hear that, husband extraordinaire.
Well, and it's definitely true. I mean, you can hear me okay?
It's muffled, so if you come a little closer or speak a little louder, if you could project.
Projecting. Is this okay?
Yeah, I mean, we're right up close to you, but hey, it's intimate. Go ahead.
So, yeah, no, I definitely feel the same way. I mean, growing up, particularly just a father, mostly with my father, it is definitely not a thing that I learned anyway, is healing, understanding what those were, expressing those in a way that was especially feminine feelings that you have even as a man. When things hurt, when things are definitely painful to you, you kind of have to let that go. And graze
that's what you've been taught, that you have to let that go, correct?
That's kind of what you've been, how it is, societal and whatnot, especially as a Black man, I think, because there's so many things that happen to you. And so if you were to express how you felt emotionally on every single one, that's all you'd ever be. I think you're taught to kind of let that go and kind of, it's almost like don't sweat the small stuff.
And how is that damaging for you, Craig and Ali LEROI? How is that damaging for us?
It's kind of a form of PTSD in some ways, because you never really get to understand fully or deal with fully any kind of real pain that you have. You kind of have to mask that with something else, which means it'll always come out in some other way.
Right.
Some way that you are blind to, some way that's controlling you that you just definitely, don't know, because, it's somewhere in your psyche and you're blinded to it. But,
does that resonate for you also, Ali? And more importantly, what can we do about it? What is the time now? What is this new pandemic opening? What are we being called and asked to do?
Well, I mean, one of the words that comes to mind is just empathy. When men in particular, and men in general, and then Black men in particular, are encouraged to literally acknowledge your own feelings, and this is something I personally had a huge problem with, and have learned just in the past few years with a lot of therapy to acknowledge my own fears, because if not just fears but feelings, and so, I mean, the idea is that if you can acknowledge your own feelings, then you become much more capable of acknowledging someone else's.
That's it.
And so there's not this great divide and inability to understand when someone else is being challenged by, by something, anything, a fear, something distressful, whatever it is. The idea that I can actually say I understand because I've had my own particular challenges and I acknowledge them, gives me some space to interact with you on a level playing field, as opposed to saying I dismiss my feelings, ergo you should also dismiss yours. So that I don't have to confront the difficult space that you're in. Like, I don't want to be uncomfortable because you're uncomfortable. I want to feel comfortable, right? And if I can't acknowledge that something might be or is, difficult for me, then I don't want to deal with it for you, because there's projection going on, and all of these sorts of things. So just being able to give yourself the platform, the advocacy to acknowledge what's going on with yourself and not be diminished around the idea of expressing it, is something that is actually makes you much more powerful and stronger than holding it back and pretending like it doesn't exist.
T dropped. Well said. What what is happening in the comment section? Because that was a lot that both Craig and Ali shared with in terms of being present and available to our own pain, so that we can then have the empathy and leaning into it with someone else. And that's a great segue to something else that I wanted to talk to you both about, and those of you in the tea room, is how do we build a bridge of communication, trust, and strength with Black men and Black women? Or do we not need to? And so I don't want to assume that's present, but I'm feeling, if we look at the political landscape alone and the agency and the leadership that Black women took, my question is, just to use an entertainment pun, are Black men on the sideline? Are you guys in supporting characters? What's happening here? What are your thoughts on that? Both in the tea room, and Craig, Ali, whoever wants to go first can address that.
Go ahead, Craig.
Are we on the sidelines? I'd say, well, first let me address the first part of the question. It seemed to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was about the relationship between Black men and Black women. Is that your first part of your question?
Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
So I would say that there is a bridge that needs to be it needs to be filled there, through the gap. We have become two different entities. At one point, we were the same. I think, because there's been a huge wedge that has been thrown into the Black family. And from the very beginning, it would get the man out of the house. And so you got the man out of the house, by making sure his opportunities were no longer there. And so he would have to turn to one or two things to try to create opportunities for himself if he wanted to move ahead. And a lot of times those were illegal, or those were in. So now you put him in jail.
So you're talking about systemic things in place that don't allow for a Black man to thrive inside the home in the way that we may see with our white counterparts? Okay.
Exactly.
Just wanted,
then you pay the woman to not have him there in the form of welfare. So, and so now economically things started to happen where...
I'm getting notes that we can't hear. Can you hear Craig? Hi, Tangerina. James is saying he can't hear. No. Are you able to hear Ali? Can you hear Craig or no? Honey, you may have to come down here and sit with me, truthfully.
Yeah.
That might be how we have to get down today.
But you really can't hear me? You can't hear me at all?
You're saying a lot of great stuff, and we're not getting it.
All right. Okay.
Come on down. Okay, so while he's making a trip downstairs, Ali, go ahead and take it away for us.
So, I mean, in the larger scheme of things, Black relationships have been under siege for I don't know, a few hundred years now. So one of the realities of understanding, the difficulty of finding functional relationships is first being able to acknowledge that, you know, a great deal of what we have attempted to do and how we have moved through this society has been systemically undermined by the society as a whole. So it makes it very, very difficult to find not just men that are marriageable or or women that are great partners, but literally people who are whole and can engage with each other as complete individuals, as opposed to
Yes.
people who are trying to connect around the activity of repairing injury, right? So yeah,
Yes.
I mean the
Yes.
difference of let's me and you get together. I mean it's the whole power couple idea. If you're gonna have a power couple, both people need power,
To be
right?
exactly, exactly.
But
Yes.
but the idea of that shouldn't just be about building corporations and earning billions and making a great business or whatever it is, because that really constrains the definition of the word power, right? Like literally, what is power? Do you have the power to raise healthy children? That's a power, right? So you can
Yeah.
be a power couple and create a great family. You can be a power couple and create a great business. So the ideas of what power is, how that manifests, how we get at it, and what's stopping us is something that needs to be addressed. But again, there's acknowledgement. We need to know that it's an uphill battle, and a lot of it comes from us being able to address the things that are it's like boots on the ground, like what's happening in the now that's in my way and making it difficult for me to be a whole person so that I can present as a whole person to someone else.
That's I agree with that. Daniel Ferguson, who is my producing partner on MediTEAtions, says, I want to pick up on what Craig was saying. Thank you for that, Ali. Saying the family division was exacerbated by the welfare system. This, along with criminalization of black men, helped create the situation we are now experiencing, which I think draws on what you were speaking about too, Ali. That it's hard to shine your light in the world when you can't keep your lights on, and it's hard to be a person of power when you're so disempowered, and every tentacle of society seems to be structured around that. And I'm not interested in victimization. I like realization, so I think we have to talk about it, because you can't heal what you won't hear. And I want to move forward. So this is really a conversation with all of us about how we move forward. Thank you, Carl. Carl said, boom. This is the new Jim Crow, 50 years old. I like to continue this, but really bring it to the medium that you both are architects of characters and telling stories, and really creating a wonderful palette of all the color and textures and nuances of what it means to be black in America, whether it's through humor and levity or the drama. So how do we as storytellers change the narrative around that disempowerment? What are some of the things that you do, Craig, or that you do, Ali, to kind of shift this cultural hypnosis, if you will, of our disenfranchisement and our disempowerment?
Well, if it's if we're speaking between the sexes, between black men and women,
Yes.
then I'm trying to create images that speak to where our difficulties are, and how to,
Heal.
in one particular way, dramatically, that my characters might solve that, or might move through that in some way, to give a closer look and reflection of what's happening at home and what's happening between us as a people, especially between black men and women, because that wedge is real.
Yes.
And it's huge. I mean, black people are and economically, it's been such a division as well. Black women have been really given a little more carte blanche in the workplace.
Interesting. Okay.
than black men have. I think.
I think
And
there's some
that's
black women would disagree with you.
I mean, maybe they have. Maybe,
What do
maybe
y'all
they
think?
do. But in my opinion, that's happening a lot. And it,
What's happened specifically? That black women are able to move up more than black men, or because now we got race and gender.
yeah, there's a lot of things happening there, but I do think that that's prevalent, and it's on purpose. I don't think that that's really an accident. That is a purposeful thing to sort of say, well, okay, because then the black woman says, well, there's no good men out there. Because if she's rising and she looks around and she goes, well, wait a second, there's no black men that are at least on my level. And for me, that what I'm looking at is that happens quite a bit. And I don't think that that's an accident.
Tell us more, Cleela. Cleela says, I disagree with that. I'm not sure what she disagrees with. Ali, feel free to weigh in. And my mama, who's on here, who has a lot to say, feel free to weigh in, mommy.
Well, I mean, it's still the same thing that, black women move through the corporate space in a way that is at the expense of black men. Now, this is not their fault.
Right.
No,
I think that's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying. It's not their fault at all.
Yeah.
Right. Black women are less intimidating than black men.
Now that I can understand, and I understand.
And in theory, easier to control, or at least the parameters in which they function.
Yeah.
So we've had culturally a lot of commerce, creativity that has been pushed forward by black men, and that's in the way of sports and music and a few other forms, even in fashion to a certain degree. So that has, paved the way and created some opportunities and entrees for black women. But what's funny is that black women are actually greater drivers of commerce in terms of the way money is spent in the black community, what content, what products are consumed in the black community. And so in a weird way, they actually are the better audience and the better group to speak to in terms of what is likely to hold in terms of successes in the black community. So it's a tricky thing. You're like, what black women are doing is fantastic. Every time they do something, black women show up for other black women. Right?
So
That's
is
not
that
anything
are we
typically that happens with black men.
Say that last part, Ali. I'm sorry.
I'm saying black women show up for black women. Waiting to Exhale, Beyonce, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, like Ava DuVernay, Lena Waithe. Like they circle the wagons, and anytime a black woman gets a chance, other black women circle around and protect and uplift, and at least that's the public face of it. Even if you have to sort things out behind the scenes,
right.
But black men have been much more competitive in a public space. And so we don't even have those sort of creative collectives, rural collectives where we go, hey, let's band together and do something with each other. Right? I feel like for the men, there's a lot more divide and conquer. Because it's probably better to have us separated because we're that much less powerful.
I agree. And I want to speak to this comment right here, that Khalila's comment. I don't want to take away from anything black women have endured or moved through. They deserve everything they get and more. All I'm saying is what I think Ali is witnessing too. That black women are less intimidating in the workspace, especially in the corporate space, far less intimidating. You have a black man that, looks like a man. There could be an issue there, and so I don't want to take away at all from what the black woman has done. She has lifted herself up by the bootstraps when she has to, and we are all in absolute support of that. We're not trying to take away from that at all, but we're just trying to see where the wedge is.
And then how do we,
and then how you get rid of that wedge then.
To my mother's point, to both of your point, I moved up in my job position. My mother was an attorney, senior assistant city attorney for the city of Los Angeles for a number of years when there weren't a lot of black women at all, Mom, if I'm correct. And because of what you, I think, are saying, that the perceived threat, and I think Kevin mentioned that, Daniel mentioned that, there's this narrative around the hulky, black man that, the list goes on. I don't even have to reiterate all the stereotypes and tropes that we all know and have seen. So going back, you addressed how you're handling that, Craig, with the characters and the projects that you create. Ali, I'd like to throw it back to you in terms of what are some of the things that you do as a filmmaker and a storyteller to reshape the narrative around black people and our relationships?
Well, I mean, it's changing for me. At the start of my career, the way that black men were presenting themselves in entertainment, there was a lot of respectability politics. And I like the idea of us being able to be, great things. Sure, you can play a doctor or a lawyer or TV or, I don't have to be black. But now I'm much more interested in expanding the way we are humanized in our storytelling. So that means, totally and wholly positive people, but also incredibly flawed and, complex characters. Because yes, we have whole experiences. We're not just the black friend. They got white saviors. They got the magic Negro.
Right.
It's like all of these, and that's just another one of those tropes. So, in a show like Power, it's great to see a character that gets to be a fun bad guy. Right? That's out there. And then, we got a black president, we got Kanye, we got all of these things.
Right.
And so the more accustomed people get to seeing variations, gradations, the more capable they are of accepting you and seeing you as a whole person, as opposed to this thing they manufactured in their head.
Yeah. The worst place a black man can be is in a white person's imagination, because Lord knows where they go. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the Caryns and, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's very difficult sometimes when you're trying to... Hey, Craig, I know you had this, Caryn. I'm sure you've had this. When you're saying a thing to white people, which you have experienced, lived, witnessed, know to be true, they can't wrap their heads around it. But they don't want to take your word for it.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. You wanted to address something that very well said that Daniel wrote.
Completely. Daniel Ferguson wrote, let's not forget one of the drivers of racism is the defense of white women.
And I know us sisters have a lot to say on that. So go ahead, honey.
So I think that just speaks, that's another point that speaks to how it's easier for corporate America to accept black women than it is a black man. Because in the defense of white women. I mean, what could happen in that office
if the
brothers let in? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I agree with Daniel. I mean, I have actually had some experience with that. So I totally agree that is
in Hollywood. Okay, and I don't want to, let's be mindful, because I don't want to create a forum within people are saying things that they regret, because I'm treading lightly here, which is unfortunate that I even have to do that.
Let's not tread lightly. Let's talk about it.
Well, I'm just saying, people get canceled, and I'm not. I can't have you canceled.
You can't get canceled off your own thing.
Well, no, there's been podcasts where people say things that get taken out of context, and then what the age that we're living in with our media that's social. So, okay, but you know what? This is MediTEAtions, and we are meditating on some deep stuff tonight, and I appreciate everyone engaging in this conversation. You wanted to say something, Ali. What were you going to say?
Well, I'm going to go out on the conspiratorial, controversial limb here.
Okay, we're going with you. We got our tea.
Well, I'm not going far.
Okay.
Just to Francis Westwell.
We're with you.
So, white people in particular, white men specifically, have a fear. And the fear is basically genetic annihilation.
Whoa,
And that
calm
sounds
down
crazy,
now.
but I don't want to. I'm just saying that in the context of physiology, in the context of biology, even though scientists say there's no such thing as race, right? It's a created construct. We're all the same people. We function seamlessly with one another, right? If I get with an Asian woman or a white woman or a Latino woman or whatever, we get together, we still make people, right? German Shepherds and Poodles are two different species.
I get what you're going with this. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, like, oh, we get together, we don't know what the hell's about that.
Right.
And so this idea of permanence, that this group of people believe that they are supposed to exist and endure for all time,
Wow.
is absurd.
Wow.
We are all transients. We're moving through this space. We will evolve. There's going to be some version of us that's going to be very, very different in 100 years than what we look and seem and feel like now. And somebody wants to go, but I want it to be like it is now in 500 years, even though I'm not going to be here. Kind of that's an absurd ego. Like, dude, we're giving you a good 100 years if you eat healthy. You know, how about that? That's a good run. But all the white people have to be white forever in perpetuity? Why?
Now, just playing angels advocate here, because I don't do devil. I mean, we can all, just speaking of empathy, we can all understand the desire to continue, right? So, I mean, I think we have to bring that into the space also. I do agree.
Yeah, but that's why Trump won't get out of office.
Exactly.
Okay.
He thinks he's entitled to this position.
Right.
And dude, you're not. We gave you could have had 8 years. You messed it up. You got 4.
Right.
You gotta go.
Right. Okay. That is what underscores white
And
supremacy.
hope an NBA player doesn't find Melania attractive.
Right. Wow.
Oh.
So
okay.
what I'm understanding is white supremacy is rooted in
White inferiority.
white insufficiency, or the feeling of.
Right.
Okay, because they're not in
Guess
actuality.
what
Do not. Go ahead.
Guess what people who are supreme don't have to do? They don't have to tell you because you already know. You gonna go challenge Mike Tyson to a fight? No, you're not.
No. Unless
'Cause
I'm
he's a
Mayweather,
superior
that's a
fighter.
different class. Right, got it. I get it. And look, this is not an indictment on white people. This is just an examination of healing these deep racial rifts that have stained our country since its inception and is still moving through our DNA. I appreciate what you said a lot. Thank you for that, Daniel. You were just coming with it. Shabazz is here. I keep it simple. The fear white men have is rooted in penis envy sexuality. Did you put a fire?
I think
up
that's
to
only
that?
partially true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we're.
I do believe that they that those in power are doing everything that they can, and I mean everything, even things we don't know about yet, to stay there.
Yeah.
You know, population control, I think, is really a part of that. Is absolutely a part of it.
Interesting.
It's not going to work.
No.
Well, I mean, even if you think about America, the idea that Europeans came to the States, or what was now called the States, and it's like, America's our home. It's like, not really. Because indigenous people will prosper, they will replicate, and they are specifically attuned to this space and this environment. And so, give it a matter of time, but you're just going to be absorbed into that population because you don't grow here. White people are imports, right? Black people are imports, right?
Right.
So
I
all of
understand
those
that.
civilizations that were present and alive here, they have been under attack and they've been under duress, but they're still here and they're not going anywhere. Just give them time; they'll be back.
I love that. I appreciate that. You have any thoughts on what he's saying?
Well, I've heard the rumor that,
Uh-oh.
and I don't know how true this is,
Oh,
but
God.
I've heard the rumor that hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, when the world looked different, where the bodies of water were not where they are now, that people who look like us, brown-skinned people, actually walked over from what we know as Africa, but were indigenous to this land
Interesting.
prior to anyone.
Where's Abdul? Is any of my sisters on here? I need
So
Abdul.
I don't know if that's true or not,
Okay.
but I've heard it enough times to go,
Well,
are we imports?
okay. That's,
Well, you're talking about the Pangea interpretation of how the land broke apart over numerous centuries and formed the continent as we know them. But in reality, they began as one larger, more solid landmass. So I understand why you say that.
okay. Well, that is something to definitely research and look into because I'd like to understand that more. But being on this land in America, true to our topic, starring black men, question mark, going back to our initial deep dive conversation, where are black men, how are they showing up? I want to look at sexuality here. And I appreciate, in doing my research on you, Ali, some of the things that you shared in terms of why you got behind the obituary of Tunde Johnson, the importance of that film, in the space of contemporary, not looking at just things that happened in the past, because in a way it kind of helps us, inoculates us, gives us a veneer where we can say, oh, that was in the past, that's not how things are. But that is how things are. And for those who don't know, go ahead and just tell them what the film is about and why it's important today.
Briefly, it's about a young black teen who is in a interracial relationship with a white kid. They're gay, and what they want to do at the end of this day is come out to both sets of parents. But the lead character Tunde is having this experience where he's caught in a time loop, and he keeps getting killed by the police before he can get to this boy's family to come out together. So it's like this intersectional time loop tragedy.
I love time loops. Love them.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite things in the world is a time loop movie.
Yeah.
So it deals with blackness. It deals with LGBTQ issues. It's in a genre that is unique to this sort of storytelling for black people. Right. We don't get to use these sort of genre-specific leaps to tell our stories because they just want us to be black, someplace black with black people talking about black stuff.
So, and I want to see if we have any comments on that, or if those who have seen the movie. Hi, Tangerina. We do need Abdul. He has a lot to say. In terms of looking at the intersection of sexuality and politics and anti-blackness, what are some of the things that we can do as creatives to kind of, again, shift the narrative? I know when I speak to my husband and I talk about his film, his cult classic, Blue Hill Avenue, one of the pushbacks at the time was that it was too intelligent for black people, that black people didn't wear suits. You couldn't have a gangster noir film with black men intelligent in suits. And again, like you said, Ali, looking at the full spectrum of who we are, who are, rich and deep and complex and flawed. And how do we move forward in 2021 with that paradigm? Do you guys still feel that, or have we moved past that? Do you still bump up against what Black is? And by your facial expression, Ali, I feel like you got something to say on that. Either of you take it. Craig, Ali, whoever wants to. And those of you in the tea room.
Craig.
Well, yeah, man, that definitely still, I'm sure, it still happens, yes. I mean, I've been told by white executives what Black people want to see. Just because they may have had a hit comedy or something. And so now they know exactly what Black people want to see over and over and over again. So many films that I've made from Cappuccino on up, I was told that, these would never fly amongst Black people because they're just not
Black.
They were not Black enough, and they were too intelligent for the audience, which is a horribly arrogant thing to say, and completely
and misinformed.
But you can't tell them that because they were the ones, with
the
holding the
gatekeepers.
purse strings.
Right.
So it started me on a path of to make movies that said pretty much, F Hollywood. I don't know if that was a good thing for me. It probably wasn't, but
if it was good
that's
for your
what
soul.
started. That's how Blue Hill came about. Because after Cappuccino, Blue Hill came, and they said that about Cappuccino. Wanted me to make it a white lead. Said if you had made it a white lead, would have made you the second coming.
White century.
So I got pissed off and I made Blue Hill out of it. and they said, Craig, you're not listening. You're not listening, Craig.
It's just crazy because the idea that an executive would go, oh, this movie's really smart, and the bulk of Black people won't get it.
Right.
So we shouldn't do that.
Right.
But if that's the case, guess what? The bulk of white people aren't smart either.
Oh my God.
Like you think what is Larry the Cable Guy has a career because all the white people are smart?
Right.
Larry the Cable Guy makes way more money than Charlie Kaufman.
Right.
For sure.
Ralphie's here. Chavez says, in the eyes of many other people, Blackness is a monolith. Yes, that's true. We all know that that is not true, but in the eyes of many people, that's absolutely true. So, has that been your experience, Ali, or how do you navigate those waters, that double consciousness in filmmaking?
It's different now. There were fewer outlets for content. There were fewer outlets and fewer ways to reach audiences. But the 90s and the internet and the successes from hip hop moving the culture forward has created this space where young people like Justin Simeon and Lena Waithe and Issa Rae, they have actually come of age in an era where they saw rich Black people, famous Black people, renowned politicians, great public speakers, and so their ideas of their parameters and possibilities were greater. And regardless of whether or not studios want to deny the viability of these audiences, Chance the Rapper's like, I'm going to put this album out, but I'm going to put the album out for free. I'm going to make my money someplace else because we also have a greater understanding of the commerce.
Yes.
Right? Beyonce dropped an album in the middle of the night with 14 videos because she knows my audience is there. We don't have to spend any money on promotion, so you're not going to get to tell me that instead of giving me $50 million for this, you're only going to give me 22 because we had to spend the rest on billboards. She's like, I'm Beyonce. I recorded the music at my house. I put it out on the internet. Give me my money.
Right.
And now I can take that and I can go hire, the young kid Tyler to do my photo shoot for Vogue. I can go take over Coachella and do the best Coachella ever. Right. And white people are there. Can you imagine if Coachella was all black women?
Whoa.
Right. They'd be like, shit. Do we shut this down? Or do we roll with it?
Right.
But just to be fair, if it was all black women, it might be Birkenshella, but not.
Stop. Well, we have a comedian on Come for him, ladies. Go ahead. Come on, come for him. No,
come on, man. Birkenshella.
Yeah, Birkenshella. That will probably be a thing next year, thanks to you, Ali. And us black women, we are not a monolith, and not all of us believe in that. Some of us drink tea and burn sage and hug trees. Alexia, actually, I can also imagine that they wouldn't know what to do with that. I'm not sure what you're talking about, sis, but I'd love to. Maybe you're talking about what Ali was talking about. I don't know. Or something else.
She's talking about a whole black Coachella.
Right. If you have questions for Craig and Ali, please drop them in, because our time will be coming to a close in just a moment. I want to, while I have you two gentlemen give you a space and forum, this MediTEAtions is all about elevation of conversation so that we can elevate our lives, and I believe in the power of word and our thoughts to move our life down a certain trajectory. So there is power in the tongue and in the pen, as you both know. I appreciate and honor you both for what you represent for the culture and how you move the culture. I tell my husband this all the time, but I want to tell him publicly that I think you're incredible and you're amazing, and I am so grateful that God saw fit that we should be husband and wife. And Ali, I first met you at Produced By, I don't know if you remember, on the Fox lot, and I was immediately taken by the bigness of your creativity, the generosity of your spirit. You have so much wisdom. We had an opportunity to share space with you at the Denver event that you invited us to speak on.
Yep. Series Fest.
Series Fest. And y'all, we have a living sage in our midst with Ali. So I just want to shine light on you today that can live forever in the digital space, for people to hear your words of wisdom and to continue to follow your work as well as my husband's incredible work. So with that said, Alexia said, yes, Black Women Coachella.
Right.
So it works out. Right.
Come on. Beyonce, Rihanna, Janelle Monáe, Erykah Badu.
Oh, it's done.
Right.
It's done. So just before we do close out our time together, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share, Craig or Ali, with the good people in terms of how we can move forward in 2021 as a people and on an individual level?
I don't know. Don't deny not just the feelings, but what's underneath it. Right? Because before you get angry, before you get frustrated, there's a thing that you want, there's a thing that you're trying to do, and these kind of secondary responses come from your inability to achieve what you want. And to be able to differentiate between what you can do and what someone else is responsible for, pro or con, can give you a better handle on, how to engage, how to move forward. I'm not a big meme guy, but I saw one this morning that was pretty cool. And it's like, blowing somebody else's candle out doesn't make yours brighter.
I love that.
I think that.
Whoever you are.
Yeah,
that's a great saying.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, what about you, Mr. Ross? Anything you want to share with the good people?
First, I want to say thank you to my wife for providing such an incredible space for us to be able to come and talk and speak on these things that we don't normally get our voice for, get a platform for. So thank you so much for having the foresight and the wherewithal to be able to put your time and effort into such an entity as this.
Thank you, honey. So we're about to make love all online.
I know. I was like, do I have to, y'all need me to go?
Should I just?
'Cause I think my work here is done.
We're showing the love, the power of Black love. That's really what this is about
And
love, period.
I just want to thank
man.
Ali
I
for
appreciate
being
it.
here too. Your presence is monumental today.
Talking about you, Ali.
And,
I think you missed it.
Yeah, no, for sure. You, Ali. Yeah, your presence was monumental today. And you've said some things that I think we'll all take with us moving forward here. So thank you for being here.
We got
Well, I
questions
appreciate
for
you guys reaching out.
Thank you so much. So, Kevin has some questions about Everybody Hates Chris and monogamy, but our time is winding down. Maybe you have a quick second, Ali, to talk about. Did you get resistance from the studio?
Not really. I mean, they were really engaged. You know, they wanted to work with Chris Rock. You know, we were originally at Fox, and Fox passed on the show.
Right.
And then UPN decided to do it. So I guess we did get resistance, but because it worked out, I forgot about it.
Right. Good. And then last thing, Craig, were you surprised at how highbrow the series like Monogamy was received on a Black? Is it highbrow? Is our show highbrow? Is our show highbrow?
Well, it's high. I think he's saying it's basically what it's about and how it moves.
Okay, because we got
it's kind of a
couple
highbrow
swapping
kind of series.
Got it.
Couple
Okay.
swapping with some kind of technological element involved.
Right.
So yeah, no, I wasn't. I was surprised, but then I wasn't, because I was like, well, we're going to try to give something on the platform that, and even in anywhere in the space
Right.
that really doesn't exist.
Right.
So if we can even remotely pull that off,
Right.
I felt like the audience would be there.
Right.
So I was a little nervous as to how it was going to be perceived by the audience, but
we
once
were-
they gravitated towards it, I was like, oh, okay, we're there.
We scratched an itch that people didn't
We
know they
scratched
had.
an itch,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's all scratch our itches. My mama's here. Thank you, Mommy. Great conversation, everybody. Very interesting and informative. Thank you, beautiful people, for sharing space and time. Again, thank you, Ali. Thank you, Craig, and those of you in the tea room. And let's continue to love on each other, love ourselves, and just keep moving forward no matter what, right? That's the name of the game. No matter what.
No matter what.
Yes. Thank you so much. Bye.
See you later.
All right,
Bye,
guys.
Ali.
Take
Bye.
care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.